Welcome, friends, followers, and fellow book lovers. I'm excited to bring you this new episode where I share with you a book I've recently read. Today's book is Christian Nationalism by Andrew Torba and Andrew Isker. These are guys that help to found gab.com, another social media website. And that's one of the reasons why I read this book. The second is I was curious to understand the author's views. Oh man, you know what? Yeah, Christian National. Okay, I got it. See what happens sometimes? So, number two, I was curious to understand what the author's views were on Christian nationalism. And three, there seems to be a movement to paint many aspects of our society as bad. Things that once were accepted and were considered normal in America are being, from my perspective, as a Christian, as a person who believes in the Constitution, assaulted. So, three leadership principles. A Christian life is choosing to become a better person. A Christian life is choosing to be led by Jesus Christ. And number three, leading others to a better way of life. Those are all those are all principles that tie into leadership in a Christian life. So I found this book quite interesting because the Andrews are talking about how to lead um, our nation back towards faith in Christ. And if you are not a religious person, if you're not a Christian, excuse me, if you're not a Christian, that may be startling to you. So, one of the things that these gentlemen do as they go through this book is they kind of recount our Christian heritage as a Christian nation. One of the quotes I want to share is that Christians are not revolutionaries. We're reformers. We do not destroy things. We build and create them, mirroring our Creator. And really, when you look at the founding of America and you understand the context, the ideas and thoughts that our founding fathers had, and where that thinking came from, I believe that you'll develop a greater understanding and appreciation for what they did. Even if you disagree with them on a religious basis, I think that you would still be able to find and understand where they were coming from. The second quote is, "Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty." And when we look at the original groups that came over, many of them came, as the book points out, and as I've tried to study um, the founding pilgrims and those that came first, they were coming to set up a Christian nation, something that was different from England, different from France, and a place where the different groups that were coming could worship. And there was more than I realized. Excuse me. One of the things that these gentlemen do as they walk, as the Andrews do as they walk through this book, is they talk about the original colonies and what religious group created them. Okay. Um, Quote number three. The point of the Establishment Clause was to retain the distinctive Christian heritage of the American nation, not to destroy it. And that ties into the separation of church and state, where in that letter that Jefferson wrote, where he talks about the separation of church and state, he was talking about the government not having control over religion, like in England, like in other countries in Europe, where the nation had control. Excuse me. The national leaders had control, whether it was the King of England who controlled the Church of England, or it was the Catholics and the Pope and that society there, which also started early on. They and the early church in France were intertwined in the very beginning. Not to mention Constantinople and his role, or Constantine's role, Constantine's role in the early church. Excuse me, and then his conversion. They didn't want their beliefs limited or dictated based on the whims of another mortal. They were trying to live the best they understood by the Bible and not by precepts of the Catholic Church, precepts of the King of England, whatever he decided. And if you really get into John Calvin, John Locke, Martin Luther, and you kind of study some of, and there's others. I'm missing some others, reformers. If you get into that, you kind of see that many of them were just trying to get back to the gospel as they understood it in the Bible. And that's why the protesters became the Protestants. Excuse me, because they were seeing us protesting against the Catholic Church. All right, number 5. If you believe Jesus Christ is king over all the nations of the world, including the United States of America, you are the thing that keeps Christ's enemies up at night. And the concept here is okay. So the concept here is that the American founders believed that the only king that America should have is Christ. Yes, they all had different faiths, and if you get into some of the counter arguments, they don't want to focus on the actual words that they said. They're expressions of faith, even though some of the founding fathers did not have a specific denomination that they were attached to in the way that we look at things today. It was a lot more actual private worship and study of the Bible than I'd argue there is today. And for a Christian, they do believe that Christ is the king over all the nations of the world. That is his part of his inheritance, so to speak. So, number 5, history shows us that Christians are the forefathers and defenders of all types of liberty, including but not limited to freedom of speech, religious freedom, private property, and the creation of the freest nation in the history of the world, the United States of America. And when you get into the debate and the discussion that goes behind the First Amendment of the United States of America, you really can see how their pursuit was to create freedom of thought, because that's how they were able to create this country and, frame a new constitution in 1789. Well, I think it was actually ratified in 1789. I don't remember the specific dates there, but they framed an entire nation in 18 pages. An entire nation in 18 pages. We can't even get bills through the House and the Senate that are that short nowadays, but that's a whole other thing. Number 6, for centuries, Christians believed that Christ reigned over earth from heaven and that they were a part of his heavenly kingdom here on earth. This meant faithfully building households, businesses, churches, schools, and yes, nations under the authority of Christ. Now, understand that this did not mean that those had to be 100% Christian. They had to be a specific way. It's that they were based on Christian principles. And I really feel that the Andrews do a very good job of explaining and defending the Christian faith and the framing that the Constitution and the founders had and why things were set up the way they were. Excuse me, I'm a little yawny this afternoon. All right, my friends, this is definitely a book I encourage you to read. Again, even if you have a dissenting opinion, there's no reason you cannot expand your thinking and challenge it and really see how you view things, and whether you can handle that view being questioned, because I think it's extremely important. Okay. All right. Thank you for joining me today. And if you enjoy this episode, please like and share. If you're looking for someone to help you level up your leadership and people skills, that's what I do. I'm a transition coach. I help people that feel stuck in their careers and that are looking to either move to a new career or looking to get a promotion within their company. My site is called turningleafs.com. That's LEAFS.com. You can go right there and book a free consultation. If you have my contact information, you're more than welcome to give me a call. And I'll be happy to get back to you if I'm not able to answer the phone. All right, my friends, I hope you guys go out and make it a great day. Go out and make it a great week, and go out and make it a great 2023. This is Iron Will, out.